Sure. So we'll talk about, we'll start off with a waterfall methodology, it's going to be a sequential methodology, which meaning there are phases, and between the phases there's something referred to as phase gates. So if you've got the envisioning phase, which is the very beginning, your business is 100% involved, your program management's 100% involved. If you're the test lead on the project, you're involved. Before you can leave that envisioning phase, there is exit criteria you need to meet, and then there's actually a phase gate. Before you can enter the requirements phase, all of the tasks in the envisioning phase need to be complete, and actually that phase needs to be signed off, and you've got a meeting there where everyone agrees that you're leaving the one phase and you're entering the next phase. That's different.
Sounds like a lot of documentation on that one.
It's a lot of documentation, it's a lot of planning up front, and it's a lot of coordination.
So we talked about the waterfall model, and this is an example of a sequential development. And some of the characteristics that, as we mentioned once before, a lot of planning that's required up front. Teams heavily involved in a number of meetings throughout the process. There's gating factors for the phases. The team itself integrates on the different modules and tests the overall environment. When you think about that, again, the waterfall approach, a lot of planning. Coding doesn't begin until the design details are resolved, and that those gating factors or the exit criteria has been completely completed.
That's right. There's a lot of organization up front. There's a lot of time spent up front, and these are your big enterprise projects, your version 1 projects, where the upfront planning and the architecture is being developed. So this isn't something where you could iterate 2 weeks and really make the progress you need to make.
Cool. So here's a very simple example of a waterfall model. You want to kind of take us through this?
Sure. So you see the first step here is a requirements phase. So this is where the business has developed their user stories, and they're letting the program management and the development and test team know exactly what it is, what the problems are that they're trying to solve. So the business approaches the engineering team with a problem. They're not prescriptive about how to solve it. It's just, here's a problem that we need to solve. So once that is completely vetted out and the engineering team understands, then we all move into the design phase together.
That's based upon exit criteria being satisfied in that phase, right?
That's right.
Okay.
So we go into the design phase where the design is really vetted out and it's communicated to everyone, and really this is a very important phase in a waterfall project, because this is where a lot of the decisions are made on just how this is going to be done, the technical work. Then you go into the implementation phase where the code's actually written. So the developers are writing their code, the testers are writing their test cases and writing their automation. Once you reach that exit criteria, you go into the verification mode, which is also known as the stabilization phase.
Okay.
And this is where the bulk of the testing happens. And you've got your exit criteria here out of this phase, and we'll talk about this a little bit later when we're talking about the exit criteria for test, but there'll be an example of that's going to be a certain percentage of your test cases will be run. This is all going to be laid out in your test plan. A certain percent or a certain criteria will be met that you've agreed upon about what kind of bugs you're going to allow to out of this phase and into production. If you've got severity 4 bugs that you're not concerned with, you probably agreed that it's okay to let some of these through. Once you reach that exit criteria, you get deployed into production, and you enter the maintenance phase where you are in production, and then bugs are logged against production, and you can put those in your product backlog for your next release.